Good afternoon. On behalf of the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention and the Federal Partners in Bullying Prevention, I would like to welcome you to today's webinar, Cyberbullying, What You Can Do. This is a part of an ongoing series supported by 9 federal offices that see bullying as a national issue that deserves attention and action. My name is Steffi Rapp, and I'm a program manager with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Thanks for joining us today. Our moderator today is Caitlin Harrington. Caitlin is with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and a member of the Federal Bullying Work Group. Before I turn it over to Caitlin, I just want to let you know that our next webinar is titled Ensuring a Healthy Adolescence, and it will be held on September 13th. So mark your calendars if you're interested. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you everyone for joining this webinar on cyberbullying. As Stephanie mentioned, I work at the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the Office of Planning and Evaluation as a social science analyst. Today, we hope to provide you all with great resources that you can take back to your community, school, or wherever else you may work to help prevent cyberbullying. As your moderator today, I have the pleasure of introducing our panelists. First, we will have Aditi Jabari from the Federal Trade Commission. She is a consumer education specialist in the FTC's Division of Consumer and Business Education. Ms. Jabari helps develop and implement national campaigns on critical consumer protection issues, such as online safety, financial literacy, avoiding scams, and preventing identity theft. Then after that, we will have Robin Young from the National Crime Prevention Council. She has conducted nationwide trainings and appeared on several television and radio stations as an expert on bullying prevention and has been quoted in media sources such as Yahoo News, the San Diego Tribune, advising parents and schools on how to protect their children from cyberbullying. Ms. Young also manages the operations of Be Safe and Sound in School, a program that seeks to raise awareness of school safety and provides schools with the necessary tools to address their unique safety needs, including school climate concerns that precipitate bullying behavior. On behalf of the federal partners, we should note that the National Crime Prevention Council is not endorsed or promoted by the federal partners in bullying prevention. Now let's hear from our National Training and Technical Assistance Center. Michelle Duhartong will share with you a few features of the web.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm thrilled you're taking time out of your busy schedule to join us for the next hour and a half. I would like to take a few minutes to discuss a few features of WebEx, although from the chat window it's clear that you all know what you're doing. This will help you maximize your opportunity to participate in this webinar, not only with us, but also with one another. At this time, please direct your attention to the chat window. The chat window can be found to the right of the PowerPoint. If you have questions for the moderator or me, your host, please type the question in the chat box and send directly. If you want your question to be viewed by all attendees, please select that choice prior to sending your chat message. Additionally, we encourage you to communicate with one another your thoughts and ideas about this topic, as well as your rich resources that you're already using in your schools and communities. You can do so again by selecting an attendee's name and sending a chat message directly to him or her. For those of you participating in today's webinar as a group, please take a minute and help us count. Go to the chat window and type in the name of the person registered and the total number of additional people in the room with you today. This will help us with our final count. Again, if you're viewing with a larger group, please type in the name of a person registered and the number of additional people joining you today. There will also be a Q&A period throughout the webinar today. During that time, we will take an opportunity to address as many questions as possible that come in via the chat window. At the conclusion of today's webinar, you will be provided with a link to take a 5-minute online survey regarding today's presentation. It is very important that we receive your feedback regarding the webinar. OJJDP values your opinions and suggestions, and this information will be used for future webinars and trainings. We welcome everyone's feedback. Please note that you must exit out of the webinar for the online survey to pop up following today's presentation. Again, thank you for joining us. Now your moderator, Caitlin Harrington.
And now we'll turn it over to Aditi and her presentation on protecting kids online.
Hi, I'm Aditi. As Caitlin mentioned, I'm a consumer education specialist with the Federal Trade Commission. Let me tell tell you just a little bit about the FTC. We're the nation's consumer protection agency with jurisdiction over very many areas. We investigate all kinds of scams, privacy issues, and fraud. And we not only bring cases against companies that try to deceive consumers, we also create consumer education materials after learning about these deceptive practices in the marketplace. Our logic is, if people know about these issues beforehand, then they can do their best to avoid scams, prevent identity theft, and be safer online. So, in my shop, we create booklets, toolkits, and other print materials, and also host a variety of websites with all of our consumer education. And this is all available for free to anyone who wants to use it. We aim to give practical, actionable advice in all of our consumer education, and we try to write in plain language so it's easy for everyone to understand. And we try to keep it value neutral, because really, who wants the government telling them what to do? So, you may be asking yourself, why is the FTC here today talking about cyberbullying? Well, in 2008, Congress passed a law called the Broadband Data Improvement Act, which directed the FTC to carry out a national campaign to increase public awareness and provide education about the safe use of the Internet by children. So we went on to create very many materials for kids on staying safe and responsible online, and we of course touched upon the subject of cyberbullying. So now that you know a little bit about the FTC, let's jump right in. Most of us, and probably most kids, do all kinds of things online. We may socialize via email, chat, or share pictures and videos on social networks. We know that these online activities come with some risks. There may be some inappropriate conduct and contact online, because people, especially kids, can forget that their online actions can have real-world consequences. And there are people online who have bad intentions, including bullies, predators, hackers, and scammers. You know your kids and students are going to go online and may encounter these risks. So what can you do? What you can do is talk to your kids. We often hear from parents, especially those with tech-savvy kids, that they didn't know where to start. But you don't have to be a technology expert to convey your values to your kids. So, for parents, teachers, or community leaders who wonder where to begin, here are some tips. Start early. As soon as kids use a computer or phone themselves, it's time to start talking with them about safety. You want to create an honest and open environment. Listen to what kids have to say and be supportive. Initiating conversations is very important. Don't wait for kids to come to you first with their problems. Use everyday chances to talk with kids. News stories about cyberbullying, a storyline on TV, this can be the start of a really worthwhile conversation. And kids will hear different messages from all over the place. We think it's important for parents to communicate their own values to help guide children's actions online. So, in order to create a positive and respectful climate at home and in school, teach your kids and students that politeness counts online just as it does in person. They should know not to impersonate others. Tell them it's wrong and can be hurtful to create sites, pages, or posts that seem to come from someone else, like someone in their class or a teacher. Encourage them to speak up. If your kid sees something inappropriate on a social networking site or in a game or chat room, encourage them to let the website know and tell an adult that they trust. And teach your kids a no-tolerance policy for bullying. The main point you want to get across, treat others the way you want to be treated. And that's whether they're interacting with others online, on their phones, or in person. As you may know, cyberbullying is bullying that happens online, and it can happen in any number of ways, on social networking sites, in instant messaging, through emails, text messaging, and even in games. Again, the advice is to talk to your kids. Communication really is the key here. Ask them to tell you if an online message makes them feel threatened or hurt. The same goes for images. Keep an open channel of communication with your child, and hopefully he or she will come to you. Also, tell your kids that they can't hide behind the words they type and the images they post. None of us wants to think that our kid or student might be bullying other kids. Still, remind your child that hurtful messages not only make the target feel bad, but they also make the sender look bad, and they can sometimes bring punishment from the authorities. If your child has a problem with a bully, tell him or her not to react. Bullies are looking for a response, so we don't want to give them one. Encourage your kids to talk with you about what's going on and to help you save the evidence. If the bullying keeps up, share the record with the school. If you ever fear for your child's safety, immediately contact the police. You'll want to block the bully online. Remove him or her from any friend or buddy lists and block the email address. And if your child's social networking profile has been changed or created without his or her permission, get in touch with the company that runs the site to have it taken down. And most importantly, tell your child that he or she can help stop cyberbullying by telling the bully to stop and by not passing on others' mean messages. So all of the tips I just discussed can be found in the FTC's consumer education materials, and I'd like to share some of these free and helpful resources with you today. The FTC has 3 campaigns that specifically focus on kids' online safety. We have On Guard Online, Living Life Online, and NetCetera. I'll talk a little bit more about each one of these campaigns and how you can use them. Information on bullying can be found in each one of these campaigns, online and in print. I'd really like to stress here that we love for folks to use our materials and spread the word on online safety. You can order our materials for free. You can order as little as 1 or as many as 100 or even more, and you can order from the website listed on the slide, which is bulkorder.ftc.gov. So let's talk a little bit more about On Guard Online. The FTC develops and manages OnGuardOnline.gov, which is a partnership of several federal agencies, including the Department of Education, the Department of Homeland Security, and the Department of Justice. The website and our OnGuardOnline.gov materials help people guard against internet fraud, secure their computers, and protect their privacy online. Of course, another facet of that is how to keep kids safe online. This includes how to get kids to think critically about what they see online, as well as how to get them to think about the consequences of their actions online. An important point to note is that the FTC does not have a law enforcement role in cyberbullying, but some of our OnGuardOnline.gov partners do have this power. As you can see here, we have created a Just For You section with pages specifically for teachers, parents, and kids. So it's easy for each person to find information that's relevant to online safety that you can each learn from or share with others. Another neat feature is our blog. Our federal partners can also cross-post to this blog, and this is really our spot to share recent and relevant information on any number of topics, all dealing with online safety. You can see on this screen capture here that I've promoted our cyberbullying webinar through this blog. We've also had partners such as the Department of Education post about issues that they'd like to promote, such as the relaunch of StopBullying.gov. So, what's our Protect Kids Online section all about? Let's zoom in. This is a one-stop shop for adults, providing useful and relevant articles, blog posts, and media on how to keep your kids safe and responsible online. Some recent hot topics have been parental controls for video games and how to prevent, detect, and recover from child identity theft. You can also find information on cyberbullying that I've shared with you today here on this page. We also have a number of videos and games about online safety for both kids and adults. Some popular videos include Chatting with Your Kids About Being Online and Stand Up to Cyberbullying, which is a video geared towards kids. So let's take a look. The video should be coming on in just a second here. So all of the videos, the video will come on in just a second here, but what I can tell you is that you can find all of our videos and media on onguardonline.gov, the FTC's YouTube channel, and also on a DVD in our outreach toolkit, which I'll talk about in just a couple minutes here. So let's take a look.
We spend lots of time online. We text, we comment, we share. It's a big part of our lives. Communicating with someone online is just like talking to them in real life. Everyone appreciates politeness, and no one likes it when people make fun, spread gossip, rumors, or lies. The fact is, some people do try to hurt others online. It's called cyberbullying, and it's a lose-lose. School authorities or even the police. If someone's harassing you online, it's important not to respond. That's because those are looking for a reaction. Block them if you can. Ignore them if you can't. If it continues, save the evidence and ask an adult for help. And don't be afraid to stand up for yourself or to stand up for someone else being cyberbullied. This behavior usually stops pretty quickly when someone speaks up. And when you're communicating online, remember to treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Know how to handle yourself, because being online is part of your life. So stop and think before you click.
So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, and as I mentioned, you can find that on onguardonline.gov and also on the Federal Trade Commission's YouTube channel. And so how else can we engage kids? Well, you can share Living Life Online, which is a magazine-style booklet. You can share this directly with your late elementary or middle school-aged kids. We've actually written and designed this booklet specifically for this age group. You can even use it with 9th graders in high school, but we feel that at a certain point, teenagers start thinking they're a little too cool for everything, but you could always try. So there's some great information on Living Life Online on digital citizenship, which teaches kids how to be responsible and safe online, including information on cyberbullying and sexting. What's neat about this booklet is that it also offers a mini module on advertising literacy, which is talking to kids about how to think critically about ads that they see on TV and online. We found that many teachers order our Living Life Online booklet and use it in their classrooms as a fun way to get kids to think about these issues. They have found this to be especially useful to start discussions in their social studies, language arts, and civics classes. Again, you can order this booklet for free or find all the information in the booklet online at ftc.gov/livinglifeonline. And you can see that website here on the slide. But what I think is one of our best resources is our NetCetera Community Outreach Toolkit. It's what you would call a train-the-trainer tool, and we found it to be an effective way to have community leaders and educators, or really just about anyone, talk about online safety with kids and parents. Regardless of your experience as a speaker or your expertise in online safety, this kit has the resources and information you need to convey key points about protecting kids online. The kit includes NetCetera, which is a detailed guide for parents on how to talk to their kids about being online. Teachers and other community leaders who interact with kids can also find some valuable tips in this booklet. Among other topics, etc. touches upon parental controls, file sharing, and cell phone etiquette. We also have Heads Up, which is a neat little booklet for kids ages 8 to 12, and it talks about how to be safe online. And what we've tried to do is write it in a way that kids can relate to. We try to speak in their language. Both Heads Up and etc. booklets cover subjects such as cyberbullying, safe social networking, what to do about sexting, which really boils down to just don't do it, managing apps on your smartphone, and of course, how to protect your computer. And last but not least, you'll get tools such as a DVD with videos, like the one you just saw on standing up to cyberbullying, a PowerPoint presentation with detailed notes on kids' online safety, including our information on cyberbullying. This can really help anyone give a very polished presentation. And you'll also get a spread the word outreach guide that will give you some ideas on how to get the ball rolling, and you can share this information with other people in your community. You can find all of the contents of this toolkit on onguardonline.gov, or you can order them for free from bulkorder.ftc.gov. And don't worry, there is a resources slide at the end of this presentation with all of the websites and the links that I have been talking about today. So now you might be asking, how do I go about actually sharing this information? You're really excited about it, you want to share it. Well, here are some simple but effective ways to get the word out about kids' online safety in your community. Talk to a local PTA coordinator, your kid's Boy or Girl Scout troop leader, or a community center or library about giving a presentation using the NetCetera toolkit. You can get free copies of Heads Up and Living Life Online to take with you and hand out. Suggest that your kid's school link to onguardonline.gov on the school website, or include information from our site on cyberbullying in the school newsletter. Let them know that the site includes a page for teachers, a page for parents, and a page specifically designed for kids. And you really don't have to be associated with a school to link to our site or to use our information on your website or in your newsletter. Whether you're a juvenile officer, a librarian, or a community leader, we really encourage you to use our staff. Our content is all in the public domain, so there's no need to worry because there's no copyright issues involved. Feel free to adapt our information to your needs and even use our content in your blog or link to it in your social networking profile. And of course, you can always order free copies of our materials and hand them out to kids in the classroom, at your library, or really anywhere in your community. You can suggest that they keep the online safety materials near their public computers. Here are some links to the resources I discussed today. I really encourage you to explore our sites and use them as you wish. And that concludes my presentation for today. I'd now be happy to take any questions.
All right, we've received a few really great questions. Thank you to all of you. The first one I'd like to ask, are any of these materials available for students with special needs?
That's a great question. We don't have any materials currently that are specifically aimed towards that audience, but we think that all of our materials could still be used with that audience. If you are a teacher, as I mentioned, you can definitely go on OnGuard Online, or a parent or community leader can go on onguardonline.gov and find a way to use these resources to speak to this audience.
That's great. And on the same token, are any of these materials also available in any other languages such as Spanish?
Yes, and let me just go back. Oh, okay. Well, yes, they are all available in Spanish. When you go to onguardonline.gov or any of our websites, you can see in the upper right-hand corner, there should be a little button that says Espanol, and you can just click on it, and everything on that page will then be in Spanish. You can also order our materials from our bulkorder.ftc.gov website in Spanish as well. So I hope you do that.
All right, and then another question is, do you have any other resources for kids?
Yes, we do. In fact, here on the resources slide, you can see that I have listed 2 other websites that I didn't discuss today, AdMongo and You Are Here. These are actually games for kids that they can engage in and really feel a part of in order to learn more about digital citizenship as well as advertising literacy and spotting a scam.
All right, another final question. What is the name of the law that prevents cyberbullying that you mentioned earlier?
Let me touch back on that question at the next Q&A portion, and we can move on to our next speaker.
All right. Thank you, Aditi. I would like to now move this over to Robin for her presentation on understanding the problems and identifying the solutions.
Hey everyone, I'm so excited to be on this presentation and hear fully Aditi's presentation as well. I think you'll find that hopefully a lot of this information will complement many of the resources that FTC has and some of the great things that they have guys to use in your communities, and hopefully we can also complement that with some of the resources to also be used at the local level in schools as well as in community groups such as Boys and Girls Clubs or closer to other community levels. So I wanted to just say briefly a little bit about the National Crime Prevention Council. I'm program manager for the Children and Youth there, and one of the things that I know NCPC is most famous for is for McGruff the Crime Dog, which a lot of times people are very familiar with the Take a Bite Out of Crime campaign, and that is often sort of what people most associate with us. But beyond the PSA campaigns, we do a lot of work working directly with community groups as well as responding to emerging crime trends, engaging law enforcement around issues such as bullying, and also encouraging people to get involved just on sort of a personal level because it's an issue that really often follows us into the home. We often say here at NCPC, as different from regular and traditional bullying, cyberbullying is the bully that follows you home, and is often much more difficult for our young people to cope with, and it has increasingly lasting effects similar to the bullying that we sort of see and are used to seeing on the playground and in schools. So NCPC has done a lot of work in this area around with schools, but as well as with community organizations such as Boys and Girls Clubs, as well as with sort of smaller organizations that work with sort of special populations and youth with disabilities and other youth like that. So we hopefully that these resources will be helpful to you as I go through the presentation. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about are really some of the parallels between bullying and cyberbullying and their impact on behavior. But also
Hi, Robin. Robin, thanks for taking a quick breath. People are having difficulty hearing you, but if you wouldn't mind staying very close to your microphone and not veering off, it would be appreciated.
Okay.
Please proceed. Please proceed.
Just a bit better, I hope, for everyone. Okay, well, I will keep going, and hopefully this will be a little bit better for people. Some of the things that I will talk about is identifying some of the challenges that are surrounded with community organizations and schools, and even at a national level, us with NCPC, working with the issue of cyberbullying. It can often be very difficult to get a handle on the issue because it is so untouchable. The anonymity that cyberbullying provides is often incredibly difficult to get a handle on. So I wanted to go through some of the things that we have in place to hopefully sort of support the efforts that everyone is working on the local level as well. So just to go over briefly, one of the things that is often difficult is that cyberbullying has a lot of different definitions depending on who you talk to. But one of the things that we've found is that it is important to identify, at least from our perspective, where we're working from. And we really identify cyberbullying as a means of using the internet, cell phones, or other technology to post or distribute images intended to hurt or embarrass another person. One of the things that's similar to traditional bullying is that we like to emphasize that cyberbullying is repeated, which often sometimes blurs the line, I think, between sort of cyber harassment and cyber stalking. So it is difficult, again, to go into some of those areas because we do know that, there are certainly laws around cyber stalking and cyber harassment, but not so many around cyberbullying, and sort of we haven't entirely caught up with technology in that sense of things. So I just wanted to go over briefly the definition that NCPC likes to work from when developing our presentation. In 2010, NCPC did another cyberbullying research study. We try to do these periodically to sort of just get a pulse on the issue and what are some of the young people's concerns. Are the messages that we're hearing out there working? And we do find that young people who are cyberbullied, one of the primary things they feel now is angry. In addition to feeling helpless and scared, but certainly one of the things that we like to say is important that the cyberbully victim today doesn't become the cyberbully perpetrator of tomorrow. And sometimes it is really driven by those angry emotions. So I think it's helpful to know that there are sort of a myriad of emotions that persons who are cyberbullied feel when they read that message online or see that picture. And it's important that any resources that we develop, we feel, need to address a myriad of these emotions. Also, young people were asked what is their most likely response to when they've been cyberbullied. And one of the surprising things, or maybe not so surprising, was they're least likely to talk to their parents about the incident. And from that, we also learned that they're most likely to share with their friends their experiences. And so what we think, and I think Aditi touched a bit on that, is really teaching our children how to respond to that, because they're using each other sort of as peer resources. And so they need to know when to go to an adult, but also, when I have to go to my friend, is my friend going to have the information needed to tell me what to do? We also have talked to, over time, bystanders, and I just wanted to touch briefly that often, again, as with traditional bullying, it's, we talk about the bystanders who are able to see physical bullying or the sort of relational aggression, but there are still bystanders in the cyber world. They're the ones that the things get forwarded to, or they're asked to join a group or join a chat room, or nowadays it's the video games, and they see sort of negative language or negative pictures, and they are also experiencing aspects of it. Namely, they can feel guilty. I want to know how to help, but I want to help, but I don't know how. And again, to Aditi's point, teaching our children how to respond, but also how to help their peers respond, is a really important part in addressing this. And then the next few slides, I just wanted to touch on some of the traditional bullying trajectories. So a lot of research has been done on the effects of bullying behaviors on both victims of bullying as well as children who bully themselves. What we see, though, is that cyberbullying, the research, again, has not quite caught up, but we do know that cyberbullying does follow some of the same patterns as traditional bullying trajectories. So we know that victims are more likely to quit or avoid school. We know that there is the depression and anxiety. And again, going back to the point that this is the bully that you can't get away from, because at times it's in your home, it's on your cell phone that young people now carry around all day, every day, and sort of sleep with it by their phone so they don't miss anything. And it seems, often obvious to say, just don't look at it, but it's very hard nowadays, to go without the Internet. We encourage, Internet use, but we encourage responsible Internet use. And the ability to know when something is becoming a problem, who do you go to? Bullies themselves, often we've noticed that bullies themselves, similar to traditional bullying, they tend to be aggressive. Bullying at school is a strong predictor of many of different social problems, including violence and aggression. But again, I don't often like to categorize youth into you're a bully or you're not a bully. I think that certainly the bully themselves needs support, and so many of the resources that I'll talk about later are dual in that role. They can provide support to both the victims of bullying as well as the bully themselves, who need to sort of shift their behavior. So some of the things that we like to do, certainly working as a national organization, we like to sort of get our ear to the ground and speak directly with schools, with community organizations, and see what are the challenges that you guys are experiencing so that we can better develop resources to support you in the ways that you need. So we have received a lot of feedback basically informing us that there really is scarce empirical research on the long-term effects of cyberbullying. Again, much research has been done around traditional bullying, but where are we seeing some of the long-term effects of cyberbullying? How is it changing? Are the resources working? We also noticed that certainly for law enforcement or for schools, sometimes it is challenging because the cyberbullying may happen at home, but may have an impact on the school environment. And so it's difficult to say, where does my role start? And so what we've tried to do is listen to some of our panels of teachers and the people who review our materials and say, I want to develop something at least where you can say, in the school environment, I can do something about my environment, and this is what I'll do. So we have encouraged and have received great feedback on some of the resources that I will share with you in a moment. We've also had information on few training opportunities around the issue, which is why I think webinars like these are so well attended and so important, because it is very helpful, and certainly with all of us trying to accomplish so many things in sort of declining budget, it's important to have these types of training opportunities for the future. So briefly, what we focus on in our resources is really sort of a four-tiered approach: teaching children, engaging bystanders, educating parents, and partnering with community organizations. So I'll go through each of these briefly. Again, teaching children strategies, Aditi touched mostly about this, so I won't go through these much, but again, it is important to teach them how to navigate the Internet at a very young age. So many of the resources that we have start in the kindergarten, pre-K range and go all the way through high school and sort of grow with children as they are becoming more independent when they're utilizing the Internet. And again, teaching them how to block a person, how to report the problem to an adult. I will say that we do find that children know that they need to report the problem, and they've gotten that message. So I think that local communities are doing a great job at sending that message out. What we're hearing now at our level is that, but then what? What if the bullying problem doesn't stop? And I think that we're still struggling with how do we then now support the bully and get them to change their behavior. As far as engaging bystanders, this moves more into the realm of teaching children strategies. Again, in addressing the bystanders, I want to, but I don't know how. I think it seems at times like they might know more. I mean, certainly I often feel that some young people know more about us, more about the internet than we do as adults, but they may not know how, and they may not feel comfortable taking a stand for a friend, because most often they might be also targeted then by the group of people that are cyberbullying them. So really addressing that fear and making it reporting safe. Now, for the issue of cyberbullying, again, because it happens most often at home or in an area outside of sort of adult control, it does make reporting an issue, but we still encourage the use of sort of things like the bullying box at school, somewhere that a child can say, you know, this started online, but that's the reason that these two people are arguing in class, or that's the reason that this happened on the street. Encouraging children to share their insight on the issue. And I think when we task them with being responsible for shifting the climate themselves, they will, and they have responded. Parents, of course, need to be educated, and DP went through some of these, so I'll just say one of the things that we often find when we get calls and insight from parents is the language changes so quickly in terms of how to spot some of what is cyberbullying, and I'm referring to the LOLs and the OMGs, but nowadays it goes much deeper than that. So there are a number of resources available, and I've highlighted them at the end of this presentation, that kind of keeps us all abreast of how is the different sort of text speak changing on the internet and on text messages, so that we can even know when it's appropriate to respond, when there's an issue. Also, for schools and other community groups, we focus primarily on conducting an assessment of the problem. I think oftentimes that, and what we hear from groups is that it's really very difficult to know where to target resources, or where, we should be putting our efforts when, we sort of have only a little bit of wiggle room. So the first thing we need to do is to conduct an assessment of the problem. And this, of course, goes beyond sort of surveying, a physical environment, but basically surveying parents, teachers, and students on how they're feeling about the issue. Is it an issue? Are we seeing cyberbullying, sort of carrying itself into the classroom or into the social groups? So really conducting an assessment of the problem is really an important piece in starting to shift the environment and really being able to target resources. And I will talk about briefly some of the already sort of ready-made assessments that we have available to you guys to do that and, to use on all levels. We've also received some feedback regarding policies. Policies across the United States vary. What we do know is that many states now have a bullying policy and sort of mandate that schools have a bullying policy. But we've also received feedback that these mandated policies don't often give a lot of detail about what a school should have, or what is effective or anything like that. So we've worked with and piloting some of these programs and resources that I'll talk to you about. We've just received suggestions and highlights from some schools on what has worked for them out in the field and out at the local level. In reference to policies, we found that many schools find that a clear definition of bullying and behaviors in the schools or in the community is key. And one of the things that I like to say is, does the bullying policy, can it be read and understood by the youngest person that you interact with? And that's usually a good rule of thumb, because if we write something very long and very convoluted, then sometimes it's very difficult for maybe a kindergartner to take that messaging in. So one of the things that we've learned from many of the communities that we've worked with is very simple and clear presentations of bullying rules is very important. To that point, also the consequences of bullying. What are the consequences, and are they consistent no matter what? So if I'm in a community center, what is the consequences? Is it similar to the same rules that I hear in my school? So it's really important, and we've found that it's effective for many of our schools and community centers to have the consequences of bullying right out in line line with the definition. And again, focusing on training of teachers and staff and really encouraging that continued training and support, and which is what we try to do mostly on the issue. I won't go through these as much. I know you guys have the slides. I want to get into talking about some of the resources that we have, but these are just ways, again, that schools that we have worked with across the nation that have used a diverse action team and sort of creative ways to address cyberbullying, such as inviting and partnering with other local agencies to do workshops, as well as how they've, had encouraged student involvement on the issue, so that older high school students are then teaching younger middle school and elementary school students about the issue, so they get some, investment in their own community. But the younger students, again, are also more likely to listen to some of the older students and look up to them. So really continuing to engage all students at all levels. And again, this one is to just emphasize, levels of training for all involved, including the students and staff. And we found that in working with some of the schools, they think that that's a really effective way to move forward with it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the resources that the National Crime Prevention has currently and is developing based on the feedback we've received from the field to support existing efforts, whether in the school or whether in community organizations or in law enforcement. These sort of fall in three categories: one, to help assess the issue; another, to work directly with youth; and another, to receive support or training. So the first resource that I wanted to talk about is the School Safety and Security Toolkit. This is the resource that has the ready-to-use tools similar to what I mentioned earlier. This has planning checklists. This has social climate surveys. Again, this has surveys for parents, teachers, and administrators, as well as students. And this has been able to provide sort of a snapshot of the social climate in the community or in the school, or we've had it used even in sort of juvenile detention centers. This provides a snapshot for these environments to say, where are some of the issues, where is the fear, what are some of the behavioral issues that are contributing to the lack of focus that I might see in the classroom. So we have all of these, including a basic security assessment, available for free in this toolkit, and it's for online download on our website, which I've included on the last slide. We also have, to make it as easy as possible, sample media tools and letters for businesses and elected officials, sample press releases, pretty much everything that is needed to assess the cyberbullying issue and develop an action plan around it. We have tools that help in developing a community forum, providing presentations to parents as well as business leaders, pretty much anything that would be needed to address the issue, or at least start to get a snapshot or a clear picture of the issue in your community. We've tried to pull together in this toolkit. And again, at the end, this toolkit is available on our main website, ncpc.org, which is on the last slide that I'll get to. We also, in keeping in line with addressing children at an early age and making sure that they, receive some of the conflict management, the issues in respecting diversity and respecting persons with disabilities, we wanted to work that into a sort of a curriculum of sorts, and it reaches children in grades 1 through 4. We have piloted that over the last, I'd say 5 or 6 years, and we have developed a kit that basically could be used by anybody. Similar to what Aditi is saying, we also agree that it's easier if we can just pick up the kit and go forward. And again, this can be delivered by a high school student or a teacher in the classroom, or someone running, a law enforcement officer running a Boys and Girls Club, anything. And they include 16 lessons for each grade. They also include accompanying activity books that, teach reading skills as well as math skills around the issues of online safety and cyberbullying, but sort of incorporating sort of life lessons into those as well. Similarly, we also have a curriculum education for middle school students, and this really rests solely on service learning and building that into engaging young people to build a service project around the issue. Again, it's just sort of an older version of the McGruff Club, in which students will talk about cyberbullying, but maybe some of the more advanced issues such as sexting, and what the relationship development, if you're having a boyfriend or a girlfriend that is asking you to send, personal pictures to their phone, how do you respond to that? So this gets into some deeper issues for young people, but also really task them to address the issue and build a service learning project around it. So this is an exciting one that has also been around. Similarly, for NC as a DP, we also have a number of PSAs as well as an animated video that can be used in the classroom and can be found on our children's website, mcgruff.org. We also accompany that with a sample lesson plan to sort of encourage discussion about cyberbullying. We've also joined the School Improvement Network and partnered with them to develop an online sort of best practices group, which we go on regularly to post new materials and share best practices that we learn from piloting our different programs and resources. In terms of law enforcement, which is another group that has contacted us and let us know that they're really interested in taking a strong role in cyberbullying prevention and supporting schools as well as other communities. We've partnered with the COPS Office, Community-Oriented Policing Services, and we are currently in the process of developing a comprehensive training for law enforcement that will include another animated video that will teach young children in elementary school age about cyberbullying. We'll also be doing some rapid response webinars around that as well. And the last thing I wanted to sort of highlight, these are all materials that are available on our website that sort of run the gamut of bullying-related issues, including helping kids handle conflict or get the message. These are all, again, include lesson plans, reproducible activity sheets and brochures, anything that can make it as easy as possible for us all to support you in addressing the issue. And these are the websites, as promised. I just want to bring your attention to the first two. ncpc.org is where you can find and download all of the PSAs about cyberbullying, as well as the lesson plans that accompany them, as well as the toolkit that I discussed and involves the assessments and the surveys to help you get a handle on the issue. And mcgruff.org is our children's website, so it's all games and fun play, but you can also use it to print out activity sheets around cyberbullying. But we've also had people who use it as sort of a fun reward in classroom activities and allow students to go online to play some of the games that have to do with cyberbullying, and that sort of helps reinforce the lessons in a fun way. And that concludes my presentation. I hope I can answer some questions.
All right, thank you, Robin. Before we move on to question and answer period, I'd like to thank everyone who's been promoting our new PSA video challenge on the chat window, and also tell others about it as well. StopBullying.gov and the Federal Partners in Bullying Prevention has put out an announcement for a PSA video contest for youth ages 13 to 18 years old may submit videos on how they're being more than a bystander. To learn more about this contest and to apply, please check out stopbullying.challenge.gov. Now we're going to move on to our question and answer panel. This one goes out to Robin. Do legal consequences differ from state to state or school district to school district?
I'm sorry, I wasn't sure that I was back on. We have found that some of the the laws that have been, legislation that has been put in place does differ from state to state. But probably one of the biggest challenges I think that we're hearing is that there is often a very broad legislation, and sometimes it does not include cyberbullying as in the language. So we are seeing various differences, but I do know that changes are being made, but of course that's a slower process, but it does make it very difficult, particularly for schools or law enforcement in order to address the issue, or at least, figure out how they can further increase their efforts in supporting it.
That's great. I'd also like to direct all of the participants to the stopbullying.gov webpage. On the homepage, you'll see a map that also you can select certain states where you can find out about different laws maybe in each one of those states. All right, we're going to move on to the next question. The reports that you mentioned earlier, Robin, do these reports include statistics on youth from marginalized communities, such as LGBT youth, youth with disabilities, and youth from communities of color?
I'm not sure. Are you referring to the report, the 2010 survey?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. We did sort of a representative sample, so we tried to include youth from all backgrounds as well as youth who have experienced bullying based on several, disabilities or just reasons of feeling different. So we did try to include as much representation as we could. I didn't break it out here, so.
All right. Getting lots of really great questions. Thank you, everyone. Did you use any YRBS data for any of your reports? And for those in the participation, this is a SAMHSA report. I'm forgetting the acronym. The Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Thank you.
I'm sorry, you were breaking up just a bit.
I'm sorry. So did you use any Youth Risk Behavior Survey data in any of your reports?
No, we did not.
Will the National Crime Prevention Council be launching any new campaigns?
Absolutely. We are launching what is going to be called our Voices campaign around cyberbullying, where we will be asking young people of all ages to submit poetry, short videos, and any form of art, whether it's picture art or visual art or anything like that, to encourage them to speak on the issue of cyberbullying and for us to hear their voices, so to speak. And from that, we want to create a digital magazine where we can highlight some of their work, but also engage them in discussion so that they can help drive the development of new resources, such as online webinars and trainings for law enforcement and trainings for teachers, and really just use them as sort of a springboard. All of these things have been put in place. You're getting supported at the local level, but what else do you feel like you need, and sort of using that as a springboard, but also to give them a chance to share what they think about the issue.
This question will go out to both of you. Do you have any examples of communities in which pediatricians or other physicians are involved with anti-cyberbullying efforts?
Robin, I'll let you take that question.
Okay. We have had work with local communities in Philadelphia and throughout Kentucky, certainly. So Kentucky is one of our largest, but also in Las Cruces, New Mexico. We've had pediatricians ask if we can just have our materials and they can pass it along. I think primarily because of the public health concern that now bullying is becoming, because we're seeing more young people going to, being treated for stress and anxiety and depression based, not only on cyberbullying, but certainly in part because of it. And so we have had requests that we have some of our handouts available at conferences, at medical conferences and things like that, and it's certainly available. It's all free online, and and we encourage it because that is a new population. They're starting to see sort of a rise in people that are visiting them for those problems.
Okay. Do either of you know of any culturally appropriate studies regarding Native Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, and Native Hawaiians?
Robin, I'll also let you take that.
Not around the issue of cyberbullying. A long while ago, NCPC developed some resources in working with tribal communities, and those are included in the McGruff Club. One of our sort of popular resources is Teaching Tales for Caring Kids, in which we took stories and, we worked with tribal communities to develop stories and posters that would be relevant and applicable and, relatable to that population. But I do not know of any cyberbullying or bullying stories that have been able to ask that population directly, what are their experiences.
That's great. Aditi, one participant wanted to find out where they could get the free brochures and other online safety and cyberbullying materials.
Yes, if you could go to the resources slide in my presentation, you'll be able to see, and those of you that registered prior to 8 a.m. this morning, you would have received an email from Callie Long with all of the slides. If you registered afterwards, we can send you the PowerPoint slides later. But in my PowerPoint deck, as you saw, there is a resources slide that lists all of the links to the websites that I discussed today. The place where you can go to order free materials and have them shipped to you within 3 or 4 weeks is bulkorder.ftc.gov. And here you can find the NetCetera toolkit, the Heads Up brochure, the Living Life Online magazine-style booklet, and also a bookmark on laptop security. You can also find a lot of other free materials on our bulkorder.ftc.gov website as well, but these are the 4 materials that I think are most relevant to the topic of cyberbullying. And again, as I mentioned, you can order these materials for free, but if you see something that, we don't offer through the bulk order site, you can always go to our website and print out the page for yourself or your students or your kids or in your community. You can use them on bulletin boards and you can spread them around your community that way. It is a cost-effective measure, too, for the government as, we have some limitations on how much we can produce, but we do encourage you to use the resources we have, both online and in print.
All right. Robin, someone wants to know if they can still access older National Crime Prevention Council PSAs.
Yes, absolutely. We do try to, of course, keep the newer ones updated on the website in an easy location, but they are all under our campaigns tab. On the front page, you can see a campaigns tab, and you'll see cyberbullying is our primary campaign right now, and they'll all be under there. If anyone has any difficulty finding any of the really old ones, because McGruff is in his 30s now, then we can, certainly I put my contact information on the last slide, and I can send you a hard copy of those, and we always send those out, so that's absolutely okay.
All right, and this one I'll send out to both of you guys, but I would like to answer it as well. What resources do you have to help schools assess their campuses? On the stopbullying.gov website, under prevention, there's another tab for prevention at schools, and there you can find resources on how to assess bullying. Do Aditi or Robin have any other thoughts on that question, on resources to help schools assess their campuses?
The FTC actually does not have resources for this. We generally just provide educational materials. Robin, maybe you could talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the School Safety and Security Toolkit is used in middle schools, middle and high schools and elementary schools to assess campuses for a number of different things, including bullying and cyberbullying. So that is a key resource. We also, not for bullying, so I'm not sure if this is, I don't know if you were asking a broader question, but we also do have a campus crime prevention curriculum that includes an assessment of the campus. But I would think more for these cases, I would go to the School Safety and Security Toolkit, which includes not just the surveys, but a physical assessment of the environment. Sometimes we notice that bullying will happen in a hallway or because of, difficulty monitoring transitions during classes and things like that. So we have included in that toolkit sample assessments for that, as well as suggestions for how to address it.
Hi, so I saw that this is Aditi. I saw that there were a couple questions on where exactly on the bulk order site you could find the materials that I was just referencing. I do have to admit that although our onguardonline.gov website is very well designed and easy to navigate, we are still working on reorganizing our Federal Trade Commission website, so it can be a little tricky to navigate, but hopefully that will be changing soon as we overhaul everything. So let me just direct you on how to find the materials on our bulk order website. So once you go to bulkorder.ftc.gov, you will see on the left-hand side, you will see a little panel, and it has words like automobiles, competition, computers, and the internet. You want to click on computers and the internet, and then you will see another pop-up and another list of that will say entertainment, online shopping, and e-payments, and then privacy and security. So you want to go to privacy and security, and then you will see the heads-up brochure, laptop security tips bookmark, living life online, and the NetCenter community outreach toolkit. And you'll see all the way on the right-hand side the quantity, and it will allow you to order, as you can see for some of them, up to 1,500. If you need more than that, you can always come back the next day to the bulkorder.ftc.gov site and order more. Unfortunately, it will only let you order a max amount per day. So if you need more, you can always come back the next day. So I just wanted to let everybody know that. So I hope that's helpful.
Great. I have one last question. Cyberbullying requires different prevention strategies than traditional bullying.
Is that for just both?
For both of you.
You want to go ahead, Aditi?
Would you like me to restate the question?
Yes.
Sure. Does cyberbullying require different prevention strategies than traditional bullying?
So this is Aditi. We still need more research, but we know that they're highly related. Kids involved in one are usually involved in the other, and also the same types of bullying can happen online or in person.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that. I would think that it's the only thing with cyberbullying is that it is complicated by technology, and sort of we teach children often, once it's online, it's very difficult to get it off. So I think they often that really weighs heavy on someone who's being cyberbullied. And the different prevention strategies that would certainly be there would be in working with technology and working with social networking sites to build their ability to take down messaging quickly, or at least teach younger children and how to navigate that online. So I think that's really where the primary difference is in the technology, and are having to learn how to navigate it when it's being used menacingly.
I see that there's a question on the side about the Family Online Safety Institute conference. I just wanted to mention that the Federal Trade Commission will be there exhibiting, so if anyone is planning to attend that, we will have free materials to give away there as well. And that is this November, I believe.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our great panel for providing such rich resources that we hope all of you will be able to use. And I'd now like to bring your attention to an online evaluation form. This will pop up as soon as you exit the WebEx. And we do hope that each of you will take the time to fill that out and let us know how each of us did. So thank you all for attending this webinar hosted by the Federal Partners in Bullying Prevention, and we hope you'll join in next time on September 13th for our next webinar. Thank you.
The host has left the meeting, so at this time, the meeting will come to an end. Thank you and goodbye.